Hello, I'm Tommy, and together with Pete and Richard, we're going to talk you through our app, Whittle It. Whittle It is for people who want to watch a film, but they can't decide what film they want to watch. I mean, it literally happens to me all the time. And you too, probably. And why wouldn't it? There's like millions of films out there. According to a recent Forbes poll, 86% of people have got access to one or more streaming services, and over 50% have got access to two or more. Take three of the most popular streaming services in the UK. They have a combined total of over 6,600 films. That's too many films. You're not going to scroll through all those films. Madness. So we wanted to make an app where you can customise and create your own list of films based on your preferences and tastes and what streaming services you have available to you. When putting together the front end, we used a whole host of developers' tools, including React, Axios, Node.js, basically everything you see here. Incidentally, before starting with Command Shift, I didn't know what any of this was, and I do now. That's quite cool. I'll hand you over to Pete now, who can tell you more about the front end.
Hello, I'm Pete. I've been the front-end developer for the project for the last couple of weeks. I'm going to run you through some of the things that I've been working on, some of the things I did like, some of the things I didn't like, so maybe some things that we're going to do in the future or we would have done differently, and also how the project in general actually works. So the project's called Whittle It. The idea is that you're trying to find a film to watch with a partner or a family friend on a night in. You're not quite sure what you want to watch, so you're using this app to whittle down all the potential options of what you could be watching for the night. So the project was mainly built using React. We used a bit of HTML for the structure. We used Axios for the API requests, which is linked to an IMDb database. So quite up to date, gets updated quite often, and it's quite reliable. And then I use CSS just because of ease of use for the styling, which also allows us to use bootstrappers, which I'll run through in a bit, because they take quite a lot of advantage of CSS. So the idea is we wanted the project to be as simple and easy to use as possible. We know that the target audience is probably just stuck for time. They want to be able to get in, jump in, get what their results are, nice and quick, not have to fumble through menus or drop downs. So there's a nice big shiny button in the middle of the page. You simply click that, returns you all these different categories of films. You simply select which one you're looking to watch. So I want to watch a mystery film. Nicely highlights it, which was quite a bit of a challenge to integrate. This project is quite component heavy. There's a lot of different moving parts in this project, and it was quite difficult to get them all working together in the correct way. There's a nice little highlight animation to see what you selected. Then click this nice little green button. There's a load animation, which I've bootstrapped in because the API does take a few seconds. And then there you go. All the mystery films are then returned to you in nice, neat little cards that have a small animation on them to let you know which one you selected. We wanted the project to be more like something that's slightly more interactive. So it's not just sending you a list of films. It's kind of like nice and organized. It looks nice. It's easy to look at. Each card has got a small little overview on it, the release date, and then the IMDb API pulls a nice image for the film for you to see kind of what it's about. You can also close this menu if you wanted to. It saves your progress, so you can just click that button again and it returns mystery films to you. All these things up here, sign up, log in, search. These are bootstrapped modals that have managed to get into the project, but I currently haven't set them up with anything. That also proved more of a challenge than we thought it was going to be, but they are currently in the project. They just currently don't function. It's the same story with the search bar. That's something that we're hoping to integrate in the future because we would like to keep working on this project. The project was a lot of fun to work on, and the main thing about it is that it works, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. It does what we set out to do in our mission statement, so for the time being, we're happy with it and we're very proud of it. But yeah, the project was a lot of fun to work on. We're really proud of what we've made, and we hope that everyone else likes it too.
So that was front end. So now let's move on to back end, which presented its own set of unique challenges. Here to tell you more about that and explain how our back end works, here's Richard.
Hello, my name is Richard Hallam. I primarily worked on the back end of Whittle It. Whittle It uses two APIs. One is called the movie database, which we use to get information about the films. We then took the IMDb ID from the film information and used it to make a call to Movie of the Night, an API that returns streaming service availability data. One blocker we had was the Internet Movie Database. We had originally planned to use the IMDb API, which would allow for filtering by actor, but unfortunately it was prohibitively expensive and there wasn't a free option. Also, the database exports we could find for IMDb could not be imported into Postgres, and so we ended up having to choose the movie database instead. The code you see here is the get movies by genre function. It takes a genre ID and sends a request to the movie database API. The total pages parameter is the movie database's way of rate limiting and can be used to limit the number of results. The returned film IDs were then passed into the getMovieDetails function to return more information such as their release date, voter average, and any other genres the film was listed under. The return also contained an incomplete URL pointing at an image of the film's poster. This was further processed in generateImageURL and returned as a string. This is getStreamingAvailability, which queries Movie of the Night to return an object containing streaming service links for services like Amazon Prime and Netflix. It uses Axios to handle the request and returns an array containing the streaming information for the film to later be destructured and displayed with the results. One challenge we had was the rate limit for Movie of the Night, which only allowed 50 requests per day to be made. This was very prohibitive compared with the movie database, which allowed roughly 50 requests per second. This part of the code here is where the filtering occurs for the returned film data. This takes an array of selected genres from the filter menu and passes the first genre in that array to get movies by genre. Then this if statement here evaluates if the array of genres is longer than 1, and if it is, it filters the data returning another array containing only films with all the listed genres. The returned array is then passed to the React component.
As Richard said, we ran into a few blockers throughout this project. One of the big ones being we couldn't afford the $150,000 it costs to use IMDb's commercial API. We also had a few issues with Postgres and so many merge conflicts. But we got over them in the end, got the hang of that. Time was probably the biggest obstacle we had. Simply in that there's so much we wanted to do that we couldn't fit it all in. Ultimately, we overcame most of our blockers, mainly due to the fantastic work of both Richard and Pete. And we also incorporated a lot of agile practices throughout the project, so a bit of mob programming, stand-ups regularly so we were all vaguely on the same page. We used Trello, Figma, Miro, plotting out and visual representations and maps of where everything was going. That was really helpful. And then almost constant contact on Google Meets. And that's it. This concludes our presentation. I guess the only thing left to do is, on behalf of Pete, Richard and myself, I'd like to thank all the tutors at Command Shift for their time, patience and wisdom. And I'd like to thank everyone else on our cohort with us. It's been fun learning to code with you all. Alright, guess that's it. Goodbye for now.